Thank you so much for
Hey,
joining me today. I'm so excited to have you.
Angelina, it's great to be with you. My name is Ken Norwood, and I have the honor and joy of working with Safe Families for Children. We're headquartered in Chicago and spread around the world, and I've loved working with you from the beginning.
Yeah, it's been so fun to get to be on this journey together. I love managing your account. We just want to hear about your experience with Funraise. What has your organization gained the most from the partnership with Funraise?
I think the most, and I know this may sound a little cliche, Angelina, is that we have a partner. I think for so long we've worked in this fundraising space, seeing our relationship with those outside the work, especially in technology, as a vendor relationship. We were often told and sold things, and we certainly wanted to comply and be the best for our donor relationships. But the second we started working with Fundraise, we instantly knew we had a partner. We had that, I think, in two primary areas. One, you really listened. We're kind of unique. We're in the prevention of foster care space. And so there's some requirements, some governmental standards that we really just had a lot of questions about as we seek to raise funds and just make our brand more aware. And you guys worked with us with that. We felt like we had a package with you that was beyond just the transaction of a donor gift into something deeper and more meaningful. So as cliche as it may sound, you've really worked with us in a powerful way with that. And it's been special. And I think the number two aspect to that is that you not only listened, but you also helped us problem solve. And I think we've hit a few roadblocks just in our own capacity or resource ability within our organization. And I loved knowing that, and you contributed heavily to team meetings. You've been on a number of our calls and met our staff. And it's just a great joy to have you be part of the team and know that what you represent and do represents our best as well. So it's been a joy.
Oh, I love to hear that, Ken. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, we really do want to be a partner with you, and our team's goal is to strategize with the organization. So that's great to hear. Since implementation, so you've been with Fundraise for almost a year. We're getting
I
close to
know.
that 1 year mark.
Yeah.
Where have you seen growth in your numbers, in your capacity? You mentioned that. Where have you seen growth over these last 11-ish months?
Yeah, I think, straight off the bat, we've seen an acquisition and new donors just skyrocket into the triple digit percentage rate. We have really been given a tool that allows our chapters. And again, for the sake of our conversation, our organization is based in over 40 states with over 65 to 80 different chapters, just depending on the location. And those each have had a desire to really go deeper in their donor relationships. And so the acquisition rate, because we've been able to create unique on the ground community based templates, has just allowed the relevancy of our program and our work to become unique to that individual area. And so that's absolutely been a gift that's just tremendously changed our opportunities to acquire, to grow, and retain those donors. So I would say off the bat, that's been a number one objective that we've just not ever been able to do before because we lacked the technical piece that you've offered.
Yes, we get to work with all of your chapters. And so that's so fun to see them all implementing Fundraise in similar but very unique ways to them with their own branding, their own images. I know we launched
Yeah.
with one campaign and now there's many. So
Yes.
that's been awesome to see. In terms of your chapters, what do you think is the biggest maybe benefit to each of them using Fundraise?
I think the biggest benefit is your platform. Again, it's just intuitive. I think for us, again, being in the child welfare space, we aren't typically hiring people who have a high technology background. I certainly am not disrespecting our team, but that's just not the top interview question. So a lot of the times when we ask or require them to also be great at fundraising, it becomes a barrier because the technology is clunky or it requires a lot of social media and added time. For whatever the magic secret sauce is at Fundraise, it's all in the platform. The templates are easy. The communication is clear. It's a lot of plug and play that for us has just made it unbelievably accessible and made it a dream to work with. Our chapters have tasted success, and I think that's all based on the ease of the platform.
Oh, I love that. Which features stand out to you as being the most helpful or adding the most value to your organization?
I think right now, first of all, I think we're evolving. I think we're so much further ahead with a lot more to go and learn. I love Fundraise You. your school, if you will. That's been a great tool for us. But I think it's just been primarily your donor forms, if I could just kind of be clunky even with that. It's just allowed us to have a common place for all our chapters to have a language and an access and a resource to something that's super transferable. They've been able to plug and play those again, not to restate that, but it's just made it easy. I can't express to you how challenging it has been to work with marketing people who are super creative, to work with IT people who are very diligent and talented, and then try to coalesce all that around a marketing and ad campaign in our donor space that really creates a solid communication and branding piece. All of that you did. I mean, it's just there. Yeah. So we obviously know our story, and we're just allowing people that the essence of the donor pages allows it to be real. So that chapter can, if they're experiencing a COVID crisis uniquely different in Nashville versus Santa Cruz, California, then they can communicate that. And their donors resonate that because we don't sound top down. We sound engaged, hospitable, local, and that's all important. And again, your donation forms really, quite frankly, allow us to build that out in a really cohesive way.
That's great to hear. I've loved seeing what each of them are doing and how they're fundraising, especially at the end of the year. I saw a lot of campaigns. How does the campaign feature compare to maybe other campaigns that you've done in the past? I know it's not your first time or your first rodeo with fundraising software. So how do the fundraise campaign sites compare maybe to other campaign sites?
I think your platform takes the fear out. That objective does not become something you have to be afraid of or are intimidated by. So I think in that space where you see it as a useful tool, very intuitive, for us it has been, and incredibly accessible, all of our, there's a simplicity to it in all the right sense of the word that allows our chapters to really engage quickly. You know, when you don't like something, it's kind of like broccoli. I never grew up wanting to eat my broccoli because I knew I had to, but I didn't want to. But what you guys have done is you've made it candy corn and cake every day. And our chapter leaders want the candy corn and cake. They're not worried about having to eat the broccoli later. I know that's silly, but it's just been fun and the fear has evaporated. It's super easy.
That's the goal, right? It's to make it really accessible so that you don't have to be, a coder to create beautiful donor experiences.
Exactly. And I think with that, kind of a quick rabbit trail is the peer-to-peer is just so simple. So, as we have grown and are growing more in that ability to attract new donors, to create mini donation campaigns and projects within local communities, for our chapter leaders to see that, to your point, not as a request of marketing or a request outside of their scope of work. They can just plug and play and make it happen. Again, the ease of the platform is phenomenal. Such an asset.
Love to hear it. Okay, one more for you, since we touched on a little bit just the growth of your numbers. Not specifics, not looking for specific here, but I know that since you did spend the lion's share of 2020 on Funraise, 2020 was a challenging year for a lot of people to fundraise. I would just love to know what those percentages were. How much did you grow your individual giving in 2020?
Our individual giving was roughly up about 70%. I mean,
That's incredible.
It was incredible. And it was incredible for all the reasons we've talked about, but it was mostly, again, because we customized a tool for the hands of our chapter leaders. And I think our donors resonated because the stories were real, they were local, and they were backed with a quick thank you process. Again, part of the joy of Funraise is all of that information is real time. They're not having to wait for a report to be generated. If they choose to pull that on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. before a coffee meeting with a donor over a Zoom call, all of it was done. And I think that's just really, plus the fun of a new launch. With us, we refuse to let COVID stop us. Can we always do better? Yes. But I think what you guys allowed us to do is embrace a new technology tool in a world where everything is Zoom now, right? And it allowed us to really take that tool to a new level. Whereas before, I think we would have been happy, but the situation made us be more aggressive in using it well.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you did that. I mean, I got to watch that firsthand. There was never a hiccup. I mean, you all had staff and children and parents with experiencing COVID firsthand. and you were working your way through, and I got to watch you care for the people as well as continuing on with the mission, which was just a
Yeah.
beautiful thing from my vantage point as well.
Our one-time gifts not only increased in volume, but also amount. I think we went from around 25-ish dollars to around 35. And again, I think that's the campaigns that were associated, a lot of hard work by a big team. But again, the tool allowed all of that to be engaging and easy. And I thank you. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. Well, I love working with you. You know this.
No, I will say one other thing, because I like to talk. I just want to encourage, if you're new to Funraise, and we hear this a lot when we start these New Year resolutions, especially if they're related to health or fitness, but trust the process. I think we really had to, as a team, take a lot of mental models out of our head, or even relationships that we had had previously that felt hard or challenging. And we had to really trust, Angelina, your process, and that we were going to get there. We had to set the right goals. We had to build the right back end systems. And at times it felt a little slow, but I think in retrospect, it was the foundation we absolutely needed to be successful. So, yeah, platform, process, and partnership. Those are my 3 P's for Funraise.
I love it. Thanks for sharing, Ken.
Yay! Absolutely. A joy to.